In this video, I'm going to explain how to create an Automation OS plugin action. To start with, you must first install the Plug-In SDK, which is supplied by Automation OS, and to find it, you can go to www.automationos.com. Once the Plug-In SDK is installed, you can start a new instance of Visual Studio, and then in Visual Studio you can create a new project. And this project must be of the type class library. You can then give it a name. My first Automation OS plugin, for example, or my first AOS plugin we'll use here. Then you'll see that a new project has been created with the name that you just gave it. And class 1 is unnecessary, so you can just go ahead and delete that, which we'll do here. Then you can add a new item. As you can see in the list of available item templates, there is a new one called AOS Plugin Action Template, which you can select. You can give your action a name, for example, my first AOS action. Click Add. As you can see, there are some symbols that aren't resolved. In order to work around this problem, you can look under Reference, which is over on the left, and choose Add Reference, and you can browse to the folder where you installed Plug-In SDK. In my case, it's Program Files, AOS, Plugins SDK, and then choose the .dll file, aos.plugin.dll, and click OK. And like that, you can see that everything's now resolved. Now in the code that is generated for you, you will see that there is a class with the name you gave it. And this will also need to derive from the plugin action base, so don't delete that. This class contains a constructor, an execute method, and the possibility to dispose everything at the end. We'll go over each of these three methods a little later in the video. To start, right in the section here called Summary, you should describe what your action is going to do, so you can write a short description there. And for each action, it is possible to receive one or more documents and or to return them to the document store. In order to define the documents you're going to receive, you can add them here. You must give the type. Here it's from store, so that means we're receiving it from the store. You then have a name and then a stereotype. To see the list of possible stereotypes, you can refer to the documentation that accompanies the Plug-In SDK. And you can see too, similar to how we define the document to receive from the store, you can define the documents you're going to be sending to the store. So for store type, we have toStore, which again means we're sending a document to the store. So we have that, we have the name, and the stereotype. Now we're going to take a closer look at the constructor. The constructor is the place where you're going to receive all of the parameters for your process. And so each parameter that you're going to receive here must be kept in a private member, which is up here, in order to be able to use it later in the execute method. The execute method is the heart of your action, and this is what must be called for everything to actually be executed. Next, we're going to look at receiving documents from the store. In order to receive the parameters, the documents that come from the store, that is, you can use, for example, an XML serializer, which is going to deserialize the plain definition. You can then apply the action to deserialize and have a variable of the type plain, which you can use under here in the section Do Some Work. For example, if you have a bit of work to do here, and after working on a few things, you'll then want to return the information to the store, so you can do that here. And then when you've finished with that, you might have some things that you want to dispose, so you can add them under here in the section Dispose. And then this will be called right at the end, and those objects will be disposed of. So that's a basic overview of creating Automation OS plugin actions using the Plug-In SDK and Visual Studio. To learn more, visit www.automationos.com.